Now I've been doing parkour and movement culture for over 5 years now. How do the Vibram Five Fingers fare with movement culture and parkour on concrete in an urban environment? Let's go and see. So the company Vibram was originally made in the 1930s as an outdoor brand who made soles for other shoes, right? The Five Fingers was nowhere to be seen. It was only as we approached closer to the 2000s that the Five Fingers started to take form, and it was not actually made to be an active shoe. It was made more for sailors and people on decks to help them keep grip in a slippery and wet environment. But in 2006, upon launch, the CEO of Vibram Five Fingers reached out to an influencer called Barefoot Ted and actually got him to run the Boston Marathon in the Vibram Five Fingers, and this was a birth of the product. Well, it started absolutely pissing down, so everything's drenched now. But the shoes are feeling good, really good. Well, the shoes aren't too bad. I've just not done parkour in 3 years. So the technique's a bit off, but impact feels okay, as long as you're landing on the balls of your feet. The Vibram Five Fingers, the Reebok Classic, and the Converse or a plimsoll. Now these three shoes are quite common picks for people who do parkour or movement culture and locomotion. Now typically looking at the more parkour and locomotion side of things, we've got the Reebok Classic and of course the Converse or just regular plimsoll. Now while the Converse has a little bit of cushioning, not as much as the Reebok, but definitely more than the Vibram Five Fingers here. You may be thinking, what is the main difference between the two here? And I'll give you a clue. It's in the toe box. So you can see looking at the sole of these two shoes that the Vibram has a much wider toe box than the Converse, which is very important because as you come to land in a jump or even just every time you take a step, your feet will naturally want to spread out and take a wider kind of position there. And when you've got a tight toe box, it doesn't allow for that. So your feet can't get wide enough there as they come into land and your feet do get squished. But with that being said, the Converse does allow for a bit more cushion than the Vibrams, and it does also have more of a widespread appeal because it doesn't look like a glove for your feet. So with that being said, it's not a bad shoe for more locomotion work. However, I would definitely go for the Vibram because it allows for better biomechanics of the foot, therefore a more full movement practice. Now moving over to parkour, few people do parkour in Converse, but not too many, so we are mainly looking at barefoot shoes of the Vibram versus the Reebok Classic. Now this is my type of parkour shoe. Very tough outer shell, it's got a bit of cushioning and it's got a flat sole on the bottom too. Now noticing these side by side, you'll see that the toe box of the Vibrams is still a little bit wider than the toe box on the Classics here. However, the Reebok Classics still have a fairly wide toe box when compared to other shoes. Now the reason I chose this shoe here is because it has some cushioning. If I was to show you the Vibram Five Fingers and the Reebok Classics and said which one would you rather be taking loads of impact in, naturally you're gonna say the Reebok Classics because they've got just so much more cushioning there. So today when I was doing parkour in the Vibrams, I felt the floor more, I had more body awareness, I knew where my feet actually were because I could see where my toes are. However, I couldn't take loads of impact. When I do wear the Reebok Classics, I can definitely punish my body a little bit more, and I've got a bit more leeway in that way. I can take jumps that I may not take in the Vibrams. I can, have a little worse technique, land on my heel every now and then, as opposed to on the balls of your feet, which is definitely necessary with this shoe. So ultimately, it depends on your parkour practice and what you'll be doing. And in regards to locomotion and movement culture, I would say, yes, definitely Vibram's better for biomechanics. However, if you're outside on gravel, some plimsolls and Converse you might prefer, because you feel everything in the Vibram. So if you're on gravel and hard terrain, it's a comfort thing. Believe it or not, I'm really not that into shoes, but I've got my biomechanically kind of gifted shoes to less so. Biomechanically, number one, Vibrams, then Vivos. I've got my Morels, Converse, Nike Run Flex, I believe, Flex 2, Reebok Classics, and the Pegasus 38 by Nike. These are without a doubt more biomechanically pleasing. They allow your feet to work in a very good way. They're barefoot, they have a wide toe box, they naturally feel good on your feet. Bit of a mix, a lot of movement in the Nike Flex shoe there, but these shoes allow me to do a specific function. I can run better biomechanics with my feet, I can do a bit more parkour but not as flexible with the feet, and this just allows me to do ultra marathons. Very stiff shoe made specifically for running, and for me, long distances. But the type of shoe you decide on is going to be so specific to what you require. I do much prefer biomechanically pleasing shoes like barefoot shoes, and I have done for 4 years now, but I do have a purpose for other shoes. Which you decide is completely up to you, of course, depending on comfort level, specificity, or biomechanics and health.